And yeah, here we go again. Hello, everybody. This is a Druid leveling video, practicing season start again. And I wanted to try out Lightning Storm because a friend said it was trash, so I wanted to see if it was actually trash. Ended up being the best overall leveling build for um, female Druid here, aka Lizzo. Kind of freaked me out, honestly, how exactly like Lizzo this character looked. Anyways, went with a real name. And as a quick heads up, you can skip to the end of the video if you'd like to get a more in-depth breakdown of the aspects that I used and the exact skill tree that I ended up using, and as well as the spirit boons I ended up choosing. Probably the biggest problem that this build faces and that Druid faces as a whole is its resource pool, where every other class in the game regenerates its resource naturally, but Druid does not. And this hinders it immensely, I would have to say. And so what you have to do is focus on spirit recovery in every way possible that you can do from the skill tree or from any other source up until you get, of course, everyone's favorite unique Tempest Roar. Up until that point, however, you're gonna have to use Bloody Howl and Trample because they can both give you 20 Spirit on activation, as well as 6 Spirit transforming into a Werebear or Werewolf, and 6 Spirit once coming back into human form from those were forms, and I'll get into that a little bit later as well. Lightning Storm does feel fantastic to play, especially in the early game, because it's ranged, it has great AoE clear, and the individual lightning strikes do have AoE attached to them, and so one strike can actually hit multiple enemies. And here is one hidden mechanic for Lightning Storm that I'm about to showcase, is its interaction with the environment and its interaction with distance. So as you can see, multiple of the lightning strikes are hitting the boss because he's up against a wall. And in fact, a similar effect happens when an enemy is further away from you, as long as there's only one enemy to target, or few enemies to target. And they'll actually be more concentrated around the targets that they choose if they're further away or if they're up against a wall. Just a little tidbit, I thought I'd let you guys know. One interesting choice that I think the build has to have is Wind Shear as opposed to Lightning Strike. Even though Lightning Strike does lightning damage, Wind Shear just generates too much spirit to pass up. It's really that simple. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. And Wind Shear does do physical damage, and so it doesn't scale as well off the lucky hits. They get procced from lightning damage. Here we see the leveling route that I'm doing here. It was based off of someone else's leveling route. It is a quick level 5 from the first two events near Kyovashot, and then you get level 20 from the dungeon right outside of Bear Tribe Refuge that gives you the Blood Nova aspect for Necromancer. Then you grab the 4 side quests from Bear Tribe Refuge, complete them, which I'm doing here, and then in this video I'll complete Adora for the access to boons before I start doing the Call of the Ancients quest dungeon, which is unlocked after completing the 4 Bear Tribe Refuge quests. You'll achieve around level 25 from doing all of what I've just stated, and then from level 25 something to level 40 something, you'll do Call of the Ancients runs. And heads up, do not complete the dungeon or you will lose access to it. So you can pick up the stone and you'll know what stone I'm talking about if you do the dungeon, but do not ever use the stone. Don't ever fight the boss. And there's actually a unique mini boss. That's not the boss I'm talking about. It's the boss that's locked behind a fog barrier at the end of the dungeon. Very important piece of information. Do not complete the bloody dungeon. Here I am finishing up to Adora and getting access to the boons. And this is actually my first time ever stepping foot on Druid, is this actual video right here. And so I didn't actually look at the boons beforehand. I didn't really look at the tree beforehand. This is just me doing everything off the cuff. And I gotta say, honestly, I really like Druid. I think it is, as far as leveling classes go, I think it is the second slash third best in my opinion. Something else that I'll mention about the leveling process for anyone looking for a tip to help boost your character a little bit faster in order to do the capstone dungeon a little bit faster is that the Kyrgyzstan area with the set level area of 45 plus actually has a higher floor of item level that it drops. And so that's generally the area that you want to be doing dungeons in before you try to access or complete the capstone dungeon. And you can get every item that you need with the decent rolls that you need all fairly quickly. Quick fun fact about myself while leveling this build is that soon you'll see that I re-rolled again because I didn't quite know what I was doing and I wanted to see if Tornado could be used from an earlier level as well because I switched to it briefly and it turns out that you can recover enough spirit with the spirit boon Lucky Hit gain spirit. And so I wanted to try it out. And well, here's that. I did the exact same route. I did everything essentially the same. I leveled with Lightning Storm to level 10 because that's about when you get all the skills and passes you need in order to maintain the amount of spirit required to use Tornado at such an early level. And here I am essentially right after what we just cut to running and doing Call of the Ancients runs. And what's interesting is that after everything is said and done, I would pick Lightning Storm to level with in a vacuum 100% of the time. It is not at all aspect reliant. It doesn't require you to use a two-hander. As you see here, I actually recommend two-handers for essentially any other leveling build early game until you get the cooldown reduction on your offhands or similar effects like that that scale extremely well. Um, yeah, there's nothing else to say. I just love Lightning Storm as opposed to Tornado. Even though they're both extremely fun to play, I would I would still go with Lightning Storm. And I believe it's faster up until you get all the aspects and uniques that you need in order to make Tornado function as well as it can. Here we see me kind of what's it called, simulating a season start run where I don't have, quote unquote, I don't have all the aspects I need, so I run all the dungeons to get the aspects I need. And all in all, it doesn't really affect your time much. It may slow you down like 15 to 30 minutes in total, but I mean, there's still dungeons that you're running, so you'll level at about the same pace. Here, I'm putting on all the aspects that I just unlocked, and by far the most important aspect for damage is the damage while fortified. It's a druid only aspect, and it's dependent on how much fortify you have, but on a single-handed weapon, it goes up to 40%, but the roll that we have here, of course, is 20%, the minimum. But it is a full uptime 20%, and then you'll also want to get Edge Masters. You'll also want to get the Lightning proc overload or overcharge aspect from North Gosglen, and the armor aspect if you're playing hardcore, and the barrier aspect if you're playing hardcore. A little funny tidbit is that both of these builds essentially take the same amount of time to level up to the same level. And to get to level 35, I believe it was almost exactly 3 hours on the dot for both of these builds with this specific running strategy and running path. Um, but I knew what I was doing on the tornado build, so if I had just been playing Lightning Storm, I likely would have done it much, much faster than that. So you can probably get to level 30 or so about with Lightning Storm if you know what you're doing in just a couple of hours. by yourself, which is kind of ridiculous. Like that's faster than a lot of other builds that I know of on the quote unquote other faster leveling classes. If you're worried about single target, there's no reason to worry. Lightning Storm and Tornado are both excellent as single target. However, I would have to give the edge to Lightning Storm over Tornado because the Tornado aspect that allows it to seek enemies is a drop only aspect, as well as the Pulverize aspect that does extra landslides. And that's specifically the reason why I would rather go Lightning Storm, even though they're all about the same amount of fun in terms of like leveling up with them. Of course, Tornado reigns supreme as soon as you get Tempest Roar and where NATO set up, so there's nothing you can do about that. But until that point, I would have to recommend Lightning Storm. It's just fantastic, and it's not too hard to play either. The in-depth analysis of the build. So here you see for the Tornado setup, you would have your core skills deal extra with Fortifies up. You have the armor on Amulet because I only play hardcore. You have this. I don't really have the entire setup ready to go here for Lightning Storm because I already have it in my head exactly what I want, but I honestly would only add the overcharge aspect from the North Scots Glen area with the lucky hit with lightning damage. Here we see the entire skill point tree. And the last little bit about how to maintain your fortify is that second wolf spirit boon option. You definitely want fortify on defensive skill because Bloodhowl here actually loses cooldown when 1 second for every kill that you get, and so that ends up giving you that's probably your largest source of spirit after the key passive. Here, you want to get that immobilized automatically without having to sacrifice the extra lightning strike for the mutation on Lightning Storm. So you do want to get that immobilized because there are a lot of multiplicative damage sources while immobilized, vulnerable, or slowed. And you want to get the shape shifting fortify node as that'll keep you up at maximum shape shifting. And there's the key passive. That's the video. Thanks for watching.